She's loyal, brave, and true. Mulan stands at the ready to lead her allies to victory. This soldier doesn't just go it alone. She works well by herself, but she's at her best when she strategizes with her allies to flank and overwhelm her enemies. Positioning is key with her. Not only that, but she inspires other princesses to reach their full offensive potential. When will her reflection show who she is inside? Until then, we can at least tell with her character card. Like most characters, Mulan can move 2 spaces, attack for 2 damage, and provide a hand size of 2. Her health stands at 9 points, and she's worth 6 victory points. It's sizable enough health for her VP, and while she'll be a target, she can more than defend herself. Mulan seeks to find a tactical advantage. If a rival is adjacent to both Mulan and 2 of her allies, do 2 damage to it. She's going to try and flank her rivals in order to get some free damage off, but get this to happen enough times in a game and it's going to quickly add up. No soldier is left behind when Mulan aids her allies. An adjacent ally with 2 or fewer health gets healed by 2. I cannot tell you how annoying it has been to hack away at a rival only to have them healed out of KO range. This may be less used than tactical advantage, but it's no less vital. No matter what, Mulan has proven to be quite the honorable warrior. Mulan gains 5 tough tokens. However, now whenever an adjacent ally would take damage, you can remove a counter from that tough to reduce the damage by 1. This can alter the game almost as much as Sully's upgrade if you can keep folks together. This will either be a deterrent to striking Mulan's allies, or it can prevent up to 5 damage over the course of this upgrade's lifespan. I cannot overstate how useful this upgrade can be in the right circumstances. So, let's go through Mulan's cards and break it down a little further. I'll be going from most common to least common, as some cards appear in the deck multiple times. The first 3 cards each appear twice. Mulan starts her journey wearing her father's armor. With it, she moves 2 spaces and gains 2 tough. This is a foundational card, both for her ability to stay in the middle of the action, but also for granting her an additional boost if she's upgraded. A great card for the early game when everyone approaches the center of the board, but it's also good to use in combination with the next card. Mulan stands prepared to fight. One princess character on your team gains 2 strong. Then, Mulan does 2 damage to an adjacent rival. As of this expansion's release, that princess can only be Ariel, Moana, or Mulan herself. Elsa's not a princess because she's a queen. Most often, this will be applied to Mulan herself, and if so, she'll do 3 damage to a rival, and would be dangerous on her next turn. Still, this gives you another possible reason to play Ariel, as if you needed one. Beware this soldier's strike. Mulan does 3 damage to an adjacent rival. Then she removes one of their status counters, or an entire status effect if that rival has 2 or more status effects. Say hello to her anti-Sully or anti-Stitch card. Afraid of that tough or taunt? Place her after Sully in turn order, and watch her melt away that taunt. It's less impactful on someone like Mickey, unless Mickey has another status effect up. Still, it's a straightforward and solid utility card. The rest of these cards are lone soldiers. Archery training separates the real soldiers from the recruits. Choose a rival within 2 spaces. Mulan and her teammates each deal 1 damage to that rival, as long as that rival's within 2 spaces of that ally. If none of them were adjacent to that rival, then draw a card. You'd be surprised how often this card can help if you're on a team with Strong. It's not a bad card even if you don't get the bonus, but you may find yourself burning it as boost fodder. Fiery Distraction is another ranged option. This time the rival must be exactly 2 spaces away. Do 2 damage to that rival, and then 1 indirect damage to each rival adjacent to that rival. Finally, move one of your allies 1 space. The movement clause helps get allies onto VP spaces or out of trouble, but even without that clause, this card would feel like a variation of Ariel's Trident Strike. It's situational, but it can help against Cauldron-born or invulnerable rivals. Mulan rallies the troops with her swift assembly. Simply put, each character on your team moves up to 1 space. Cards like this and Fiery Distraction help set up Mulan's tactical advantage. It can also be used to get your team up to invade the middle of the board. Sometimes, when things go sideways, you need to improvise your plans. Mulan chooses an adjacent rival and ally before revealing the top 4 cards in her deck. For each attack card among them, do 1 damage to that rival. For each movement card revealed, move the ally 1 space, and if it's both, then do both. I sometimes joke and call this wall of text the card. However, if you have a good idea of what's still in your deck, you can manipulate the board to your advantage. It's a little random though, so beware before rolling the dice with this card. So, does Mulan bring honor to us all, or will she be left behind for this battle? Let me be clear in my bias. Mulan is my favorite character in the entire game. I enjoy characters that go against the grain and know how to properly play defense alongside their offense. I also appreciate characters with tough and strong, Stitch included, and she finds ways to turn incremental benefits into a snowball for both sides. Sometimes, I wonder whether the game is geared towards offense a bit too much. Meanwhile, Mulan comes around and shows me that if you can position and plan well enough, you can win the game with defense as well. Her two skills can quickly turn the tide in the damage war. Her ability to aid allies makes a great deterrent that has them avoiding keeping your allies at 1 or 2 health. Meanwhile, her tactical advantage can lead to straightforward 4 or 5 damage turns before even giving herself strong. With strong, you can do 6 to 8 damage using only 1 attack card and her skill. However, where she absolutely shines is her upgrade. Some of you may remember how difficult rounds could be with a Sully that runs away. Mulan reduces damage not just for her, but for adjacent allies as well. Preventing up to 5 damage for your allies adds up quickly. And if your ally also has tough, that's preventing 2 damage each and every time. The catch though is that if you get KO'd or lose tough, the upgrade's rendered useless. Mulan is a character that forces both teams to be mindful of their spacing and their positioning. Being haphazard with it can cost you dearly. Mulan does not like dealing with opponents who can force her team to move around. Scar and Gaston are 2 examples of rivals that can counter some of her mechanics. They aren't hard counters, but it certainly makes things more difficult. Once Mulan builds up status effects and positioning, just turn on the pressure. Her strengths lie in a few things like strong and tough in the hands of a 9 HP character can turn into a knockout machine. Her skills and her upgrade dictate the position of everyone else in the room. Reducing each hit done to her allies is a new technique that creates problems for some characters, like Buzz. Her weaknesses are still important to keep in mind. Her proximity to her teammates gives her strength but also makes her reliant. If they get KO'd, she loses some of her power. Even more than her reliance on positioning is her dependence on strong and tough. Her damage can become pedestrian if you can't maintain those effects. You will run into games where several of her cards can become boost fodder due to being circumstantial, which can feel like underutilized opportunities. Mulan is versatile enough that you can slot her into multiple types of teams. However, if you're going to make her the focal point, I would suggest 2 paths. Either seek to upgrade her as soon as possible, or create a strong defensive core. Mulan's upgrade gives her teammates the freedom to take more risks, especially in the center of the board. It also provides a level of bulk that certain characters need. Meanwhile, the defensive path could either take the form of double healing through Ariel and Mulan, or extensive uses of tough, stealthy, and taunt to create a frustrating targeting experience for your opponent. Consider characters like Aladdin, Sully, or Ariel for that. So, who will be fighting alongside Mulan's army? Mulan, Demona, Stitch. All 3 members can make themselves strong and create a level of sustained offensive pressure that can feel oppressive. Demona and Stitch have mechanisms to remove unwanted status effects, protecting from Faciliate's debuff shenanigans. When each member can do 3 or 4 damage to single or multiple opponents, it becomes hard to counterattack. Mulan, Davy Jones, and Maleficent. I know I mentioned defensive cores earlier, but I wanted to showcase a team with characters that I don't tend to recommend. Davy and Maleficent have natural synergy. They're both magical users, and Maleficent values having a bit of control over spacing and her health. This team sets up Mulan to upgrade quickly, which can protect Maleficent and keep her on the VP space. She can also handle the effects of being cursed if necessary. It's a fun team that allows you to stay in the middle of the board and is slightly bulkier than it may appear at first. So that's our breakdown of Mulan. Thanks for joining us. Stick around for the next one, but until then, how about a girl who's got a brain who always speaks her mind? See you next time.